Hey, this is Carrie Canary Quilts, and it is week 22 of the Dear Jane Quilt Along, if you're following along. When I scheduled this out, somehow I missed this Friday, May 31st, in my scheduling. And then I also found out that somehow I missed doing the right side number 9 block. So this week I'm doing just the border block, just one block, so I don't miss it. And I am also going to talk about preparing for the end of this, where we're going to have to do the sashings and the cornerstones and the scalloped edges if you're going to do them. So I'm going to talk about that today. But to start with, let's start with RS9 Danish Delight. And it's just the one block that I'm going to be doing today, and I'm going to put it right into my quilt here on my color chart. Let's rotate it. I've got a nice pretty mint green, kind of a mint green that I'm working with this week. I'm going through the construction of this block, and you can find that if you don't want any EQ8 stuff, you can find the construction in a time code in the description below this video. So there is my block. Let's go open up this block in the block work table. There we go. There's our block. There's my colored block. And there really is no modifications or anything that need to be done to this block. So the foundation paper piecing looks like this. We've got 3 separate single pieces here, but they just get added onto another section. So this is what it looks like when you print it, and you can just move these around so that we can get it printed on one page. There you go. So pretty easy this week. I'm going to go through the construction of these top 2 pieces and go through the pieces that I use. But anyway, if you're not sticking around for all the sashing, scallop borders, cornerstones, and all of that, let's get started on our block. All right, let's start talking about what we need to do to prepare for the end of this quilt. You don't have to do any of this now, but we could start thinking about it. I have started cutting, but if you want to just see what's in store, then that's what we're doing today. So what we need to do, this is the DJ2 master file. It has the color chart in my photo quilt. What we need to do is go over and open up DJ1 quilt file if you've got the add-on. So that's what that one looks like. Yes, I want to add that. So yes, I want to save. Quilt. We're going to open up this quilt right here. Let me just make myself smaller so that I'm not so distracting. All right, here is the original Dear Jane Quilt put into EQ8. We don't need to worry about all the center blocks that we're working on, the border blocks, or the corner kites. All right, so to begin with, let's zoom in. I want to work on the sashing, or I want to talk about the sashing and the corner blocks. Let's just zoom in. The sashing is these pieces right here on each side of the block, and then the cornerstones are right there. And you can see it over here in this one. We also have borders, which are these thin pieces right here. I have not cut those. I will show you how big they are, but I'm going to wait till the end to cut these. There's only 4 pieces. But anyway, I went ahead and I counted what I thought we needed for sashing. So we need individual pieces on each side of this block. And let's go to print, and we want to print a template. First I need, okay. So we're in print, and I want to go to one of these sashings. They're all exactly the same. The thing with EQ8 is it does not tell you how many of these we need, but you can see that finished, it's 1/2 inch by 4.5 inches. So if you go over here to rotary cutting and hit preview, it tells you how big a piece you need to cut. It doesn't tell you how many you need to cut. It just tells you one of these. So I figured, let me know if you figured something different. I figured we needed 312 of these sashings. So you can print your rotary cutter instructions and cut 312 of those. Unless you come up with something different, let me know in the comments. I've counted a few times and that's what I come up with each time, is 312 sashings. The next thing we need is this little corner block or cornerstone, and that little cornerstone is a 1/2 inch square finished. If we go to rotary cutting, you'll see that we need an inch square unfinished. So I went through and counted these. I came up with 144 of these. So when I cut these out, I just used a fat quarter. I didn't even use the whole fat quarter. So that's how little material you need for 144 of these cornerstones. The next thing we will need is, we need the border. Like I said, I'm going to wait until the end. You can see it's only a 1/4 inch finished. So I'm just going to wait till the end to cut that. We need to look at these scallop borders, and these are each individual blocks. So we have the ones that are in the center. Oh, I know why. I need to be in layer 2. All right, so layer 2 has these, and you can see we have all these center ones, which are the same. And then we have this weird shaped corner one. So we'll have 4 right-handed corners and 4 left-handed corners. That's what I'm calling them. And then 4 of these corners. So if we go and turn off down here in the layers, and down here, we can turn off layer 1 and see it better. So we can get rid of all the background blocks and the sashing, and you can see these better. So what you can do here is you can go to templates, and let's preview this. And these are the templates for the scalloped corners. I don't know. I'm very unfamiliar with why this binding strip is here. I am not using this part of it. But anyway, so I'm going to delete that and cut just this piece out for the scallop. So that I came up with, we need 56 of these centers right here, these pieces. And then we need 4 of the right-handed. And if we go to template, you can see what that looks like. That also has the binding, which I am not going to use. That's what that one looks like. You can just print this one and flip it over and you get the left-handed version, or you can go to the left-handed side and print that template also. And then we need this tiny little template. And that has the binding, which I'm not using. Please let me know why that binding strip's there. I'm not sure, so I'm not using it. Anyway, this is what that template looks like, and we need 4 of these also. So the other thing we will need at the end of this are these triangles, these solid triangles. And I came up with 56 of these also. So you have 56 of these scallop center pieces and 56 because they go together. And what I'm seeing is that you'll sew this scallop edge onto this triangle. So at this point, you can just print this template out and use it to cut whatever triangles you're using. I'm using 56 different batik colors in mine, so that's what I'm going to do. You can rotate this and we can put it onto one sheet over here, and that way we don't have 2 sheets. So there you go. One thing I saw a long armor doing was, if you don't feel like doing scallop edges, sewing these on, she actually drew the scalloped edges out and then used her machine to go around that edge and then quilted inside of it. And then the lady could cut along that edge and she'd have a scallop. That's an option. I don't think we're doing a lot here. For me, we're doing a lot of sewing. I'm just going to add the scalloped edges to my triangles here. So I think that's about it. Let me zoom back out. So again, if you turn off layer 1, you can see the scalloped edges, the corners, these triangles that we need to cut. And then if you turn back on layer 1, you can see the sashing here and cut your, I'm using rotary cutting for that. I'll put into my website for this week how many pieces of each of these I came up with. Please let me know if you come up with a different number. I've done the counting a couple times. I think that I'm right, but there is a lot here. So I am not going to be adding the sashing or anything this week. I may address it in weeks coming up, but I do have them all cut, and after the construction of this week's block, I'm going to quickly go through those cuts. So there you go. That's what we need to think about for the end of this quilt. After we finish all these center blocks and piecing of the borders, then we need to move on to the sashing and the scalloped edges and all of that fun stuff. But anyway, just wanted to address it here, let you know what we're going to be working with down the road. But anyway, once you get past the block, I'm going to go through the sashing and all those cut pieces that I've done so you can see what they look like. So hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and we'll have some fun here. We're going to have a beautiful quilt. This week we just have one block we're putting together, RS9 Danish Delight. Well, I usually say not too hard. I don't think this is going to give us any issues. So anyway, my pieces, this is what we're going for right here. Before I get to my pieces, that's what we're going for. My pieces for this are, my cut pieces are on my website if you want to use my cut pieces. I do list them out there, and I have a link to that in the description down below. All right, my cut pieces are these rectangles. These long rectangles are these two outer pieces. This big rectangle is for this one. My squares are these two squares down here, the triangles here, this piece, and then these rectangles are the two side pieces here and the inside triangle there. So then my colors are, these triangles will be here for the triangles down here. Then the squares are all of these pieces and that piece. And then the little squares are for the pieces up here. And another square for up there. So it's not too hard to figure out what you need. I think what I'll do is, I'll put together these two pieces because the rest of these are pretty much you just go in order. So let me put together these two pieces and then we'll put the whole thing together. I went ahead and put these together. I've sewn my single pieces onto my single paper pieces. And I put these pieces together. Nothing big about these. Pretty easy to put together. So I've got these done. I'm going to start with this piece right here. And I'm actually switching these out. This was 3 and this was 4. Now I'm making this 3 and this is 4. So I'm going to do these bottom 3 pieces first and then add the top piece. So for this one, we don't need that anymore. I only needed 3 of those. I am using these little squares here. I've drawn it out on this side. So I want to put my square over 1, make sure that it is 1/4 of an inch past between 1 and 2, and that I have coverage out here, and I do. So now I'm going to take this rectangle right here. That's what I'm going to use. It is big enough. I was worried that it wasn't, but it is big enough. All right. So line it up with this piece. Make sure you've got coverage at least out to here. We've got coverage up here. We only need it to here, so we have plenty of room. And then we're gonna sew between 1 and 2 right here. There's my first 2 pieces. I have gone ahead and trimmed between E2 and E3, which I switched the numbers. So you can see I trimmed it. I'm going to take my small square, just kind of line it up so that I can see that it's going to fall out here at the seam allowance. And then we will sew between 2 and 3 right here. There we go. First 3 pieces are on. Next piece is the large piece up here. I have trimmed my 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and take my square, line it up so that my edges of my square are outside of the seam allowance, and they are. So now we get to sew along this line between E2 and E4. There we go. Can't see any paper, so we're doing good. All right, let's get started on this one. And I've drawn it out on the back. So we're going to start here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pretty much the same thing we just did, just different shapes. So I'm going to use one of these rectangles for our number 1. Lay it over 1/4 of an inch into 2. Take the last square I have here, and it's past this seam line here, and it's off the paper over here, so we're doing good. So on this line between H1 and H2, and lock stitch up here at the point. All right, there's my first 2 pieces. Number 3 is the other side. I've trimmed my 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to take my other rectangle and just lay it here so that I'm off the paper over here and I'm plenty past this seam right there. So we'll sew on the line between H2 and H3 and lock stitch at the point. Last, we're going to put on our 4th piece up here. I have trimmed my 1/4 of an inch for number 4. Take our last white square we have here, and the ends of my square come off the paper, so let's sew on the line right here between the bottom and the top. There we go. There's that piece finished. So I'm going to get all my pieces trimmed up, and then we'll put it together. We'll lay this puzzle out. All right, here's all my pieces cut out. I think what I'll do is I'll just put it together by section. So that's what we're going for. So let's go with the A section. It's going to be down here. Then the B section is... Oops, I got to turn it over. Like this. And C is this piece right here, the other side. So there's our bottom piece. And then D goes right there. E goes right here, and then F and G go on each side. So it's going to be like that. And then H goes on top. All right, so we need to put these 2 together first. Maintain that straight edge. Then we're going to add this to it. I'm going to try to iron all my seams open unless it seems like I shouldn't. And then these 2 pieces will go together. And then we'll add these 2 pieces on. That's our center, and then we'll add this to the top of this one, and then add this whole thing to the bottom. All right, let me get this one done and let you know how it goes. All right, there's my bottom half, my bottom third put together, and I ironed both my seams open. So let's move on to this one. We're going to put these 2 together and then add these 2 on. So let's just line these up. Points basically match up right here in the middle, these 2 points. So we'll sew on this line, and again I'm going to try to iron it open, see how that goes, and then I'm going to add these 2 on. There's my center piece put together, and I actually ironed towards G and F because of all these seams right here. So now we can add the top on. I'll just get it lined up, and I think I'll iron towards the top piece. There's the top. Let's put the bottom on. And just kind of centering. These points of these notches here seem to look like they line up with the edges too. So, let's see. Let's try ironing this one open. And there we go. RS9 Danish Delight is done. So that's all we're doing this week. I am going through what we need to finish out blocks, like sashings, cornerstones, stuff like that. Also this week. You don't have to start it this week, but just starting to prep for the end, even though we're halfway through. All right, there is our RS9 finished for this week. Let me know how it went for you. It was pretty easy to put together compared to some other blocks. Let's just say that. I'm going to add this to my photo quilt, which I do have a video on how to do that, which I have linked in the description down below. I have my cut pieces on my website, which is in the description down below this video. And then after I put this into my photo quilt, I'm going to go on and show you all the sashing and scallop borders and all that fun stuff that I did before in EQ8. So let's add my block. I need to go to Photo Tools. I took a picture of it. There it is. And there it is in my quilt. So, it's really coming together. It's getting really fun. If you're not going to watch the sashing and scallop borders and all that fun stuff, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and I will see you in the next video. But anyway, let's go on and take a look at my cuts. Let's see. I've got all these separated. Let's start with our triangles. I went out and I just grabbed 56 different batiks. And I ironed them, and then I stacked them up 5 at a time and cut 5 of these at a time. And I purposely chose dark batiks. I think the dark will look nice against, I think almost all, if not all of these border blocks have white edges, or are mostly white background, I should say. So that's why I went with dark. So these are all of my triangles cut. That's what they look like, and that's how I cut them. Basically ironed them out and cut them 5 at a time. And this is my sashing. I used rotary cutting for this. I cut 1-inch strips and kept them folded over with the fabric, 1-inch strips out of a bolt of fabric. Kept it folded. I stacked 4 strips, so I was cutting 8 at a time. And I cut my 5 by 1-inch squares 8 at a time. I think when I used with the fabric, I had to cut 39 strips. So, I mean, that's 39 inches. It's not a lot of fabric. It's basically a yard. But that's what my sashing looks like, and I'm keeping it separate in this bag, kind of stacked up so that it doesn't get messed up. The cornerstones. 144 1-inch squares. Like I said, I used a fat quarter. I kept my fat quarter just in case I need to cut some more or something happens. So it's not going back into my fat quarter stash, and I know which one I used. I chose a very bright color for my cornerstones. I don't really have any red. I thought red would look really nice. So I went with this bright yellow orange color for my sashings. If I don't like it, I'm only out about maybe 2/3 of a fat quarter. So that's not going to be a problem. So those are all my cornerstones. And then my scalloped edges are in here. So here are my right hand scallop edges. Yes, my right hand scallop edges and my left hand scallop edges, and then my corners. So they're going to butt up to each other like that. I did the flipping method. I flipped my pattern over. It doesn't matter to me because I have a batik, so I can use either side. But if it does, you will need to flip your pattern over or cut the left-handed or right-handed version, whichever one you don't print. And I did print it just in case. So 4 of these right, 4 of these left, 4 corners, and 56 centers. And then what I'm sure is going to happen when I study it is we're going to be adding these to these as we go, because our border block will be coming up here. So that is what my cuts look like for the end of this block. It took some time, but I think in the end I'll be happy that I did it now. Hopefully I came up with the right number of things we need to cut, but you know, I did count a few times, so let me know if you get a different number. So that's what these cuts look like. I wanted to go over them, get you ready, whether you're going to do them now or not, get you thinking about them. So there you go. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. We'll have fun here on this channel. Share your blocks on social media with the hashtag Dear Jane QAL, tag Canary Quilts in it, and I will share them with all of my followers. Anyway, this was a fun week, nice little break, and let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.